I am never going to forget this job as long as I live. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus. This is horrible. It can do more than 100 miles an hour in reverse, and it'll seat 2 people, and it looks like a surface-to-air missile. This isn't a concept though, nor is it a Caterham something. This is the Light Car Company rocket. Essentially, it's lightweight perfection.
Picture the scene. It's the late 80s and you're an endurance racer. You want to build a road car that elicits the same excitement as a race car but won't eat a regular punter. To do that, you need to talk to someone who knows how to build proper, cutting-edge race cars, which is exactly why racer Chris Craft got in touch with Gordon Murray. Yeah, that Gordon Murray.
Truth is, Craft had wanted Murray to build his own car for years. Problem was, Murray was always a little bit busy, working in Formula One. However, the pair found a gap in Murray's schedule. In 1989, he was due to finish doing F1 stuff, and then in 1990, he was going to start developing a new road car for McLaren. Guess what that was? However, there was a gap, which meant the 2 boys could make the car they wanted to make. They had a fairly decent shared vision. They wanted a central seating position. They wanted it to look like an old race car, and Gordon Murray being Gordon Murray, it needed to be light. Very, very light.
Murray ended up drawing pretty much every part of the car to be as light as possible. He said in an interview he wanted to out-Chapman Colin Chapman, and it's fair to say he succeeded. The finished product, without a driver, weighs in at just 390 kilos. The original Lotus Elise, which launched just a few years after the rocket's 1992 debut, is a little over twice that.
It has a steel space frame chassis and it weighs in at just 21 kilos. Now, Murray had looked at other materials, but for the size of the car, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference.
Its engine is a Yamaha FZR 1000, a bike engine. You'd expect it to be a smidge wild, considering its 11,500 RPM redline. Apparently it was a bit of a nightmare to get it to work, thanks to it needing a reverse gear and to be paired with a differential. However, thanks to some external help from Pete Weisman, transmission expert, the team got it to work. It even comes with high and low gearing, meaning you won't have your head blown off by noise at high speed. In case it had escaped your notice, it was a little bit rainy the day we shot the rocket. This had the unintended and quite irritating side effect of rather drowning the microphone somewhat. So while you might be able to make out the soggy, shiny-headed, begoggled man, we put some subtitles in, just to be sure.
It's got a sequential gearbox, so from neutral you go down 1 for first, then up through second, third, fourth and fifth. It also has a fun little quirk, in that in reverse it also has 5 speeds. Now, this prompted Car Magazine way back in the day to see how fast they could get it going in reverse. The interesting thing about that was that where the car has toe in, so it stays straight and true going forwards, that means that going backwards, it has toe out. Now, what you'll find there is that if you've got your head looking over your shoulders, it can get a little bit spinny. Props to them though, they managed 104 miles an hour before giving up. Respect!
Now, this being a Gordon Murray car, it's got some seriously cool stuff inbuilt. The engine and gearbox, for example, are part of the structure bolted straight to the chassis, and you can bring a friend along if you like. Remove the fairing behind the driver and there's a little seat for a passenger. You do have to be quite good friends to tonk along in it, what with the passenger's legs being alongside you and their head being mere inches from your own. Lord knows what would happen in a crash. You'd probably have to be separated with a spatula.
The rocket came into existence in 1992 and it debuted at a fairly eye-watering price of £38,000. Now that's about 80 grand in today's money. It's a bit niche as they go. The company built fewer than 50 chassis and this is car number 34. It's the former development vehicle, which means over its life it's had a fair amount of stuff done to it.
This one has slightly different lights to the rest, a headrest, and some rather fancy Ducati fasteners to keep various components in check. It's been taken apart and put back together a few times as well. Oh, and both Murray and Kraft's sons drove this car on the Gumball Rally. It's pretty much the ultimate rocket.
With its Star-Fox Yamaha engine that puts out 143 brake horsepower at around 10,500 RPM, and with 77 pound-foot of torque on tap, this should be quite the experience. Now, in case you hadn't noticed, it's quite rainy today, and the car's on fresh tyres, and it's not my car. I've been out to look after it, so that I have. So we shan't be pushing it today, class, because I don't want to die. There is so much standing water around, it's so light. Even the slightest provocation, it gets a little bit skittish, shall we say. I was told by the owner that when you're driving you don't get wet. My face and head are soaked. I'm pretty sure, I've got trench face. The steering is pretty fantastic, if I'm honest with you. It is connected directly to the front wheels and you get so much feedback. The front wheels, by the way, you can see both of. They're right there and right there, which means you can place the car so easily. The central driving position takes a little while to get used to, because you sit slap bang in the middle of your lane. But you feel like you're in a racing car. It is fantastic. It feels so cool. I'm soaking wet. I'm quite cold. And I really do know what road spray tastes like now. But this feels mega. It's such a cool experience. The throttle is on something of a hair trigger. Give it just a little bit and you will be fired off into the distance with a cacophony of noise. You feel like you need to change up around 6,500 RPM, but it will keep going to 11. Have we done it a couple of times? In this weather, that is brave. It will do around 60 miles an hour in first gear. That's first gear in the lower ratio gearbox. High ratio, it's a little bit more genteel. This thing is savagely quick, but in this weather, you do have to respect it somewhat. Getting away cleanly is difficult. That throttle, it's very, very sensitive, and the clutch is quite tricky. But once you nail it, you do get a sense of achievement. It's at this point in the film, there'll be a montage of every time I've managed to nap up setting off and stalling. No! Oh, what's that? Smooth pull away? Oh, yes! Tell you what, even in this piss wet, and it is piss wet, I'm pretty sure I am the wettest man on earth right now. I love this thing. I really wish I could have experienced it in the dry. Perhaps not during a torrential downpour. But oh my God. I may be the dampest man on earth, but I'm also one of the happiest. I've wanted to drive a rocket for years. This is such a special bit of kit.
It is a wondrous thing, this rocket. Small, light, bizarre, and from the mind of one of the all-time greats. Murray's obsession with weight has another happy side effect. It's not too bad to maintain. The brake pads have never been changed on this car, and the only reason its owner changed the tyres is because his were degrading with age. With a high price point at the start, especially in '92 when a rather nasty financial crash happened, it's not a huge surprise that a niche track car didn't quite take off. But if you think about it, the rocket was about 20 years ahead of its time. Nowadays there'd be collectors clamouring to get their hands on something like this, especially with Murray's name stamped on it. The rocket is essentially a distillation of what a race car driver wants to drive and what a race car engineer wants to build. It's a showcase of what was possible if you tried really, really hard with late 80s and 90s engineering. And when you think about what Gordon Murray achieved over his career, all the great things he's ever done, this is one of the most impressive. In fact, he even describes it as a mini McLaren F1. There may not be many rockets out there, but those that are there, they're pretty special.